Hi, and welcome to Rowing Friends. We have a special episode for you today. In this episode, I forgot to hit record and missed about an hour of Kate and I talking. But with the help of my virtual assistant and AI, we have this treat for you. As a disclaimer, the cartoon voices are AI versions of Kate and I, and not us trying to read the transcript like a first read of a play. I promise not to forget to hit record again. We hope you enjoy this episode of Rowing Friends.
Oh, how are you?
Good, good. How are you doing?
Good. Just, trying to make it work post Christmas and get ready for New Year's. And yeah, crazy.
Yep. The funny in between time.
It is, and I was like, I don't know if I mentioned on the last podcast, like, there's that Twixmas was the word that I heard. It's the time between Christmas and New Year's Twix myth.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like kind of like this.
Mm-hmm.
In between kind of special time where like your schedule isn't exactly what it normally is. The kids are off from school.
Mm-hmm.
You have extra time to do things, but you sort of don't, but you kind of do. So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's like that balance of feeling pressure to get stuff done because you don't have anything scheduled, but then also like enjoying not having anything to get done because you don't have a schedule.
yeah, very good. Yeah.
Yeah, but truth be told, when you texted me originally, I was still in bed and I was like, "Oh my gosh." And there you go, Adrien's working out and I'm like, "I'm still in bed."
Well, my excuse is that my mom's caregiver shows up at 7. And so like now I'm in this routine where I have to get up about 6:30 and like
Mm-hmm.
any dishes that are left from the day before, I try to clean up. Like, I try to organize the best I can. My mom, I give her like this little morning drink with some protein and creatine in it and stuff like that. So I try to get that done. So now I'm up. And then, like, I find, like, especially on the weekends, if I go back to bed, forget it. I'll sit in the bed until like 9 or 10 in the morning if I can. It's like, I know if I go back to bed that it only means bad things. So then I go back upstairs, I put on my workout clothes. If it's nice enough, I'll go outside and run, which we've got this in between weather that's really ripe for a 47-year-old woman to trip and fall when she's out running. So that's why I'm trying to like avoid going out there because I know that it's just a slip hazard and it wouldn't be fun. And the train changes because it's like the sidewalks are dry, but like the driveways as they go to the sidewalks where the snow kind of piles up. So there's like these little like mountains of, it's like doing hurdles. So you like run, then you hurdle, and then you run, and then you hurdle again because like the snow gets stuck from where people have like been shoveling or plowing or whatever. So
Yeah, I think we're in this funny weather pattern where I think we're like a little bit behind you guys
yeah, correct.
because so what was your weather like yesterday? I just,
Oh, yesterday it was cold and like not a lot of snow, but kind of blowing snow. And it was super windy, like the kind of when you're sitting in a parking lot. Like I was at BJ's picking up an order and I was sitting there and the car was rocking, like, like you get in like those wind tunnely kind of spaces. And like I just saw like someone's bag of like Christmas wrapping just roll down the street. My husband's putting the recycling out right now, and there's a block for that. It's going to be all over the surface.
uh-oh.
Let's hope our recycling guy comes and gets it quickly. The funny story about the recycling guy, so like it's like been like the same person for like the last 10 years, and he kind of looks like Santa Claus. Like he has this big like gray beard.
Oh,
And I forget what we were having done at our house. We were having something done at our house, and we live on a circle. So he came up into the circle with the big garbage truck, and we had like whatever we were having done. They had like a trailer of some sort, and he didn't see it. So he rammed into the back of this trailer and sent it straight into the middle of the circle.
mm-hmm.
And we thought he was done though. We thought like because then the recycling truck owner people had to come up with like a tow truck and tow the recycling truck away. And like he was like arguing with this guy. We're like, "Oh my gosh, this guy's never coming back to pick up our recycling." But he's still on the job. He still comes. He still comes and gets it. But I still remember like I was like watching him pull up the street and I'm just like, "He doesn't see that, does he?" I'm like, "He's going to run into it."
Wow.
But we're really like because I mean, those trucks are big and they have like so yeah, that's my random story for
Yeah. Well, you just said the recycling blowing away, so it made me think of where we used to live. So we had trash pickup, and then the recycling wasn't in a trash can. So, like, we had the trash can for the trash, that removal, but then it was like a make your own situation for the recycling. So, like, we had just like plastic, like Tupperware, like big bins that we would use, and then like they didn't even.
So, yes.
Maybe we got like one of the smaller blue ones, but it was like an open lid thing, just like a box, bin. And so then we would just like put out random boxes with stuff in it, and that would be the recycling. I don't know if it's still like that. It was in the village of Scotia.
Yeah.
But now, like where we live, it's just, two garbage, like similar receptacles with lids on them. They hinge up obviously, and then, like they can fall open in a big wind, they will, but like pretty much like they're the best that you can get where you're not going to have stuff blowing everywhere. But is that what you guys have, like two garbage receptacle things, or
We have one that's the actual garbage, and then the other ones, we still have the plastic totes. Like some people in our neighborhood have the same garbage collector as us, and they have like two garbage can totes. But like I don't know if we need that's one thing we should do. Before the new year, I should call the garbage place and see if I can get like a recycling tote because we make enough recycling. I mean, between the kids and cereal boxes and Amazon and all of that stuff. I mean, there's plenty of cardboard and, plastics and things like that that we put in the tote.
yeah.
But I was actually, I mean, to be on this recycling kick, I was listening to, I think it was like our public radio, so WXXI. They have this show called Connections, and they were talking about like recycling in our area, and they were talking about like wish cycling. I didn't know that like the container that the strawberries come in aren't recyclable.
Like the plastic ones?
Plastic ones, those aren't recyclable because they said it's the process that particular container is made with. They can't recycle it.
Really? And just particular to strawberries, because like what about other berries?
Yeah, I don't know if it's just particular to strawberries, but like I my mom, like she eats strawberries like as part of her little breakfast every morning. So we're always buying those containers of strawberries. If it was up to me, I wouldn't buy strawberries unless during the season because like I'd rather have the homegrown ones that are like grown in Rochester that like, they're like really sweet. They fall apart. They don't survive in like a container like that. Like if you buy a pint of them, they're just like mush if you don't take good care of them. So the ones from the store are like those heavy duty strawberries like made to like not fall apart. But whatever plastic they make that container out of, that they said that particularly like you still can't recycle strawberry containers. So I guess I've been wish cycling them for the past year.
That's what it's called. There's a term for that, wish cycling.
That's what it's called. There's a term for that, wish cycling. That's a term for like if you recycle something that isn't recyclable. That's with.
Wow. Interesting. Interesting. Oh my gosh, what a rabbit hole. I gotta go down. Yes, now I have a thing of blackberries in my fridge, so now I'm curious.
Yeah, yeah. And they were talking about there's like some app you can get on your phone to like figure out if something's recyclable. And then we have what they call the Echo Park. I'm sure you guys have something similar to that where you can take like anything like old televisions, like packaging, paint. When we moved into this house, the guy like left us all of his old hazardous materials. I was like, thanks, dude, because like for the hazardous materials, you have to make an appointment at the Echo Park to do something like that. So
Uh-huh.
but yeah, that place is pretty cool. But like, I always struggle as I kind of purge through the house. Like, how do you like I can make a box of things that I want to wish cycle, you know what I mean? And then trying to find homes for certain things
Mm-hmm.
like when my dad passed away, like we were trying to figure out like where can we send his clothes and like, what makes the most sense. And so there's like actually like I sound crazy now because I know of all these different places, but there's this place that takes clothes for refugees, but their rule is that it has to be like a relatively like perfect shape. It has to be seasonal. So we brought the clothes during the winter, so we could only bring winter clothes. So they only take like winter pants, winter boots, all that stuff during the winter, and then during the summer they take summer stuff. So it's really interesting. Like if you take the time, you can figure out where you can kind of like gift cycle, a lot of things. And I mean, that's what that podcast was talking about, or the radio show that I was listening to was talking about, is like the best thing to do is to try to make sure that whatever items you have are finding another life, whether it be you're giving it to somebody and they're using it for the purpose that it was made originally for, or something that can be upcycled in some sort of way. And, I always think of like rowing equipment too. The idea that, when you put your boat outside of the boathouse, it's one step away from the dumpster, and, trying to find creative ideas for,
Yeah.
for fiberglass boats that, have kind of outlived their usefulness. And, I think as a sport, I think we're pretty good at recycling. I think that a lot of times, like, people do go through the boat and pick out all the things that potentially could be used in some other type of form, like the wiring harnesses, stainless steel wing nuts, old riggers. Like, every boathouse has a collection of riggers that will never fit anything, but like one day you might find that one boat and it might fit it. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of interesting, like, because
What are some things that you've seen that people have been creative about, like even like different types of purposes other than like obviously a rigger could be used as a rigger in another boat if you need to and if it works, but like have you seen other uses of things?
I've seen like coffee tables. I've seen like an actual like station turned into like a coffee table.
Yep.
There's always the classic, you could sell the boat to an Applebee's or a bar hub. Like, it's so funny because like a lot of these boats end up on the walls as kind of decoration. It's a good one. I'm trying to think of what else I've seen stuff made out of.
So Burnt Hills for I think still, but I don't know if maybe now we've gone through all of them. Actually, Dan was a big one who used to do this and I think still does. Old ORS, so going through old ORS and like that are really like to the point where they're just taking up space and they're not even usable for like learn to row,
Yeah.
using the blades for like senior awards that they used to give out. But, I think because I was thinking about that too, I remember must have been in 96 when we went out because we were in the Empire State Games, so it was like going into my senior year
Mm-hmm.
and the Empire State Games were in Buffalo that year and we so it was hosted by Westside and one of our coaches had a friend that rowed at Westside or had rowed at Westside in high school and knew these people that were selling key rings, which I don't really know if people use key rings that much anymore, but they were the old style oar lock, like the twist part of it. I mean, right now you're thinking Orlock of how they are right now, but think of like an older style boat because again, that was in the 90s, so like probably like 70s or something. Like they were a little bit more like antique-y looking
Oh, okay.
and that they were attached to like a key ring and that was like your key ring, which was kind of cool. I'm trying to think if I've seen other things. So we have a bunch around our boathouse. Somebody had turned a boat into like 3 different planters. So they had cut a boat into sections and then put like end caps on it for planters.
Yeah. And how did they keep the soil from kind of rotting the boat out? Like, did they line it with something, or?
I don't know. I don't think I've ever really looked that closely at it. And I think they've only done it for like the last few years. And I think this year, I don't even know if anyone planted anything in them. But yeah, I don't think it was, I don't know.
We had that thought, and we were kind of like, if we put the soil proper, like, in the boat, like, we thought that that was just going to make a mess.
Mm-hmm.
Then we're thinking like maybe if we take like the like in the different like on the board that you can step on, like we made holes that were the size of like 12-inch pots. Then every year you could just place a pot in there and it would kind of look cool. One thing we do have at our boat, which is kind of neat, and I'm not sure who made it, but it's been there like ever since I've been there, is someone made a planter and then made like a sling. Like it has like 2 pieces of wood that are like this, and then there's a sling in it, and that's where you put your boat, so you don't have to take out slings ever, because the planter's there with the slings. So we always use the planter sling thing that somebody, I don't know who made it, I don't know when they made it, it's still there.
Oh, it's like a permanent fixture.
the permanent fixture. You can move these pots around. They're like, it's a real pot, but someone put two pieces of wood and they probably put like a bolt through and then they connected the canvas. It's a perfect sling. We put doubles in it, we put quads in it, singles, people put their boat there, then you can clean your boat off and then take it into the boathouse and never have to worry about putting your slings out before you leave. So, or leaving them out because it is a park. So, Genesee Valley is open.
Cool.
So if you leave the slings out, it's kind of like sitting on a trailer, it's just strapped down. And I think people just don't understand like the value of the items that are kind of, or oars, like a full set of 8 oars sitting on a trailer with an 8 on the trailer, strapped down with a couple straps. Like it'll sit there all season and nobody will bother it. And knock on wood, nobody's people do weird stuff to the actual physical building in the park, but no one ever knock on wood, I've never heard of anybody vandalizing boats, or the only vandalism of boats I've heard about is that they'll take boats and put them in the water.
Oh.
They'll put them in the water and then because they're rowing shells, they flip and then the current kind of takes them away. So I've heard stories of coaches having to go and
I feel like I remember this. Oh, yeah.
go get a boat that some teenagers threw in the water or something like that, but I've never.
Did you tell this story? Because this is sounding very, very familiar, unless I just heard it through another source. This is sounding very familiar.
I don't know. Maybe I've mentioned it before, but I've never been there when it has happened, but I've heard the stories about, there's not straight up vandalism. People don't break the boats, but we'll put them in the water. And I don't know if it's under the guides of they're putting it in the water. We're going to go for a ride. I don't understand that it's a rowing shell and you're going to tip over because you don't have any oars. And
Yeah, that does sound familiar. And if you think about the boathouses we've rowed out of, I don't know how you compare where you're at now to West Side, but West Side is in a kind of an interesting area because it's kind of I don't know if, obviously if you're in that area, you would know, I guess if you're out and about, you would maybe know it's there, but it's really not connected to any neighborhood, so to speak. It's kind of near the waterfront, but it's kind of you have to go down this long driveway.
it's too bad. I think they have that gate too. The gate kind of protects it and there's no reason to really walk over there.
And there's a gate? Yeah.
And for Genesee Valley Park, there's 2 boathouses. There's Genesee Waterways and then there's Genesee Rowing Club. They're both in the park proper, so you could easily walk up to either boathouse if there was equipment outside, there is a gate at Genesee Waterways that for the launches and the motors and that kind of thing. Genesee Rowing Club, they have a gate, so you can't get your car down there because it's actually a park gate. And the park controls that they open and close it. The club does have keys to it, but you could still walk. You could still ride your bike.
Uh-huh.
Around the canal and everything, you could still get to the boathouse. You can't get into the physical plant of it. The doors are locked and that kind of thing. But West Side's different because it's kind of tucked away. It's by that army thing. I think that probably deters people too. I think is it a National Guard or a reserve?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
And I think that probably deters people. You don't want to be wandering around there. Plus, it's at the foot of
the Peace Bridge. So you don't want to mess around with the border people. If you're going down to West Side,
yeah,
you're supposed to be there. You're supposed to be doing something down there. It's not something where Genesee Waterways, you could just hang out in front of the building. You could have a picnic at the picnic table kind of thing. It's not,
yeah.
It's not kind of set up the same way, but
I do remember when I was coaching the crew camp there, we did have issues because during the day it's open, right? Because you've got starting in the morning and then through the last practice at night, it's just there's no opening of the gate as you come and go. It's just open. And with the kids, they would, have their book bags because they were there for good chunks of the day. And they would just leave them on that little porch area, they would come and they didn't spend a whole lot of time inside unless we were doing tank stuff or whatever and didn't use the lockers or anything. So they would just leave their book bags out there. But then we had to I think we had to change that because there was people that like came and like stole stuff from the kids' book bags while we were on the water, but yeah, typically like that is the situation at Westside, which is like where we are right now. You really have to go out of your way to find our boathouse. Like just even finding it is kind of like, I mean, it's not, it's not all twists and turns, but it's just this really, really long road to get down. Like I think the kids say when they do their warm up runs, there's two stop signs. There's like the one stop sign that is where the marina is. So that's, I think, I don't know if I'm right, maybe like a mile from the boathouse if you do that back and forth. And then the next one I think might be 2 miles. I'm probably totally wrong with that. So somebody will correct me. But, but it's pretty long, to get even down, like, even if you were, like because there's been times when I'm like, "Oh, maybe I can just drop." There's no dropping off on the way, like, you're committed. Once you get there, you're, like, going down this long road, but we don't have to worry about anything too much just because it's, like, really in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, I was driving that. Yeah.
But right across the way where Union's Boathouse is, a little bit upstream, they're in like Schenectady, like the city. And I remember when I was coaching there, we had to keep our boats on the river once because there was a lot of police activity right outside of our boathouse. And like they were like telling the coach that they didn't want us to be on land. Like we have to, because there was some kind of like shootout or something going on. So
Oh my gosh.
yeah, it's like totally right in the same area, but totally opposite ends of the, other sides of the track, so to speak. The water. Yeah, it is interesting. They're all different. Now, which is the one that is where is ahead of the Genesee and has it changed? Because when I was there in 19, I think when I rode with you.
Yeah. So head of the Genesee is run by Genesee Rowing Club, which is GRC, which is the club that is diagonal from the like finish line building, the building and the finish line, the actual building and finish line. That's Genesee Waterway Center. So Genesee Rowing Club
Okay.
kind of uses Genesee Waterways as like kind of a home base because there's power, and not that they don't have power over GRC. They actually have solar power, but they don't produce enough solar power to run the regatta. So they need like a real hookup. So that's why they kind of stay over at Genesee Waterway Center during the whole regatta. So they kind of take over the space
Sure.
and kind of stage everything there, but they run the actual regatta. So Genesee Waterways is kind of like they don't coordinate really anything except providing like the space to make it happen. But the club at the Genesee Rowing Club is the club that runs the regatta. So like it's funny because a lot of and I've probably talked about it on the podcast before, but a lot of the clubs kind of grew out of other clubs, the whole let's pick up our oars and go somewhere else kind of thing. So like Genesee Waterways grew out of the group who was at there used to be a rowing club out on Arundequit Bay, which is a beautiful space, but at one point, and I think this maybe was mid 80s or I think it was mid 80s, they there's this bridge that they put in. I mean, if I get this right, they put it in during the winter. So it's a bridge that connects the front of the bay so that you don't have to drive around, because during the summer, you have to drive around the bottom of the bay because it allows the big boats to get in. When they made this bridge or they started taking the bridge out, that's right, when they started taking the bridge out in the summer, what happened was it allowed bigger boats and speedboats to come into the bay and made rowing unsafe. So that crew moved to Genesee Waterway Center and started Genesee Waterway Center. That group eventually, I think in the 90s, broke off and turned into Genesee Rowing Club and Genesee Waterways. So then from there was a group of people who were at Genesee Rowing Club who broke off and moved to Rochester Boat Club, which is out in Fairport.
Oh, okay.
So those are like the masters teams. And then at Genesee Waterways, they used to have Tim's crew, RCIR, but they broke off and they made their own boathouse. So if anyone's listened to the podcast before and Tim talks about how the state didn't want to like allow another club, this is why. Because then they broke off. So now we've got Genesee Waterways, Genesee Rowing Club, we've got Rochester Boat Club, which is out in Fairport on the canal. And you've got RCIR, Rochester Community Inclusive Rowing, which is out on Black Creek, which is a little creek that comes off of the Genesee River. Then from like the high school perspective, the first high school was Pittsford Crew. Fairport Crew birthed Fairport Crew. Fairport Crew moved to Fairport. From there, nothing kind of came out of the. Those were the only two that were there. I think St. John Fisher was at Pittsford. And I think Pittsburgh, and then they moved to GRC. So I think that's where they are right now. So they're at the one diagonal from Genesee Waterways. Mercy and McQuaid are at Genesee Waterways. Nazareth University, they're at Genesee Waterways. U of R at Genesee Waterways. U of R actually had, like, if you go further down, there's this building that has like all these like rowing pictures on it. They have a rowing facility there. They were supposed to have their boathouse there. However, the cost to dredge and make it like completely appropriate was going to be like, I don't know, like another $1 million, something like that. So I mean, it's really funny because when you row by, you think, oh, that's another boathouse, because the way it's kind of set up, like they have these window clings on there that make it look like it's a boathouse. Like there's like pictures of people rowing, but I think they only have their training facility there. And I might be wrong. People are like, no, their training facility isn't there, but like there's a space there that was supposed to be a boathouse. Never turned into one. They're still at Genesee Waterways. Now we have Brockport Crew, which is actually all the way down the canal, and Brockport. So Brockport's like kind of not like, you know how Rochester and Buffalo, and then smack dab in the middle, you got like Batavia. Between Batavia and Rochester is Brockport. And they're like, oh, okay. So they've got rowing. And so that's our only west side. What we call west side of Rochester rowing is Brockport rowing. All the other teams are on the east side.
Where's RIT?
So RIT, they're at their own boathouse on the Genesee River. So like Genesee Waterways, RCIR, RIT. So like probably like another, I think it's maybe, I want to say it's 10,000 from Genesee Waterways to get up to RIT's boathouse. I say up, but it's really south. In my head, like it's really down because it would be going closer to like Edgeworth and like where like the river starts. So like they're not that far out, but they're further down. They're south, like south of the city.
Okay, and everything is like within half an hour, would you say?
But yeah, I'd say everybody's boathouse is about half an hour from everybody else's. I mean, at the most. You can row about 20 strokes over from Genesee Waterways to Genesee Rowing Club. They're the two that are the closest. Oh, Fairport and Rochester Boat Club, they're about as close as Genesee Waterways and Genesee Rowing Club, but Fairport and sometimes does masters stuff, but they're very focused on like, it's a kids club. It's mostly like youth, where Rochester Boat Club only does adult masters and their program. Smokes, their program's huge. And I think like the interesting thing about them is that they're in the village of Fairport proper. And, Fairport's like one of those kind of villages that have the ice cream shop and the Irish pub and the little gazebo for them to play the music. And like, it's very like, and then they've got the kayak and, it's kind of, and then people walk by and are like, oh, what's that? What's that? That's growing. That's fun. Can I do that too? And so I think they have like over like 100 members, and most people
Kind of like, yeah.
either haven't rowed or rowing adjacent. Like, because Fairport Crew started before Rochester Boat Club, a lot of the kids in Fairport learned to row. And so now they're kind of like they're semi grown up, or they are grown up, and their parents, who are retirees now, are picking up rowing because they know rowing from like their kids being on the rowing team, but they themselves are not picking up. So they do like a lot of sculling. They do doubles and quads, and they have a couple, they're getting into competitions. So they have a couple of boats. They had boats that went to the Charles and did pretty well. So they're really like a masters team that's like really, really growing. And I think it's because of good marketing. They do a really great job marketing their team, and they have such a prominent like space. Like, it's summertime, people are out walking on the canal, and then they're bringing their boats down for practice. It's like the perfect type of advertising. And they have like basically a dirt floor boathouse. I mean, it's not super fancy at all, but I mean, it's not much more than you need. I mean, the draw is that, I mean, you're rowing in like this beautiful kind of picturesque, quintessential, like I'm on the canal in my boat with my friends and we're going to go for ice cream after. We might go for tea. Like it's that kind of thing. Yeah, a lot of the other boathouses don't really have that. I mean, like Genesee Waterways is in the park, which is nice, and Genesee Rowing Club, but they don't have that kind of draw where, somebody walking by in the park, like if you go into the park to kind of walk, like you're not really concerned about what else is kind of going on there. Where I think the advantage for Rochester Boat Club and Fairport is that people are wandering around and kind of already in that curious mood. Like I'm kind of like, oh, I'm enjoying myself in the town and look what I stumbled upon kind of thing. Where a lot of the other boathouses have to work a little bit harder because like you said, like sometimes boathouse are down a mile long road behind the trees. There's no like instant advertising. I mean, the only advertisement you get sometimes, like you might be rowing underneath the bridge and someone's, taking pictures. And do you ever think to yourself how many like random pictures you're probably in because people see you out rowing and then get so cool on it?
Yes. So I think I'm trying to picture how this could even be the case on our river, but like,
Cheers.
so where our boathouse is, like, yeah, you can't say like, oh yeah, you've driven past it a million times. So there's there's a road in this tiny, like, cute little town. I mean, cute, you're talking like an actual villagey town. This one is like a one street, like one cross, two or three cross streets, place called Alpos, and most people don't drive through it for many reasons. It's just like out of the way. But there's also some kind of industrial park that's like in between the road and the boathouse, and then you're like driving kind of alongside of the industrial park. Then there's like it's a marina, so there's like this whole like area of like discarded old boats that's kind of there, beyond that, like once you get past the train bridge,
Yep.
then there's one section that is, I don't know, I wanna say newer, but it's dating me because it's, probably been there for the last 20 years, but there's, like, a nice restaurant there, and then they've kind of built it into, like, they have a different building for, like, event space, and then they have their own hotel there, so that's where people will be, like, sitting on the river, and when we get to that point, you can start smelling, like, the garlic and, like, the food cooking, and it's like, "Oh my god, it smells so good," and there's people out on the patio, and they're taking pictures of you, and then, like,
Yeah.
then you gotta keep going, and then there's the new Rivers Casino is there, so that's another section, like, that's newer, and they're still building onto it. Like, they just built so Union College just built their, new ice rink there, and they're right along the river, and then there's a whole, like, section of shops and restaurants over there, and then a little bit further up, there's jump jacks where you work for the regatta, so yeah, but I'm just thinking there's this whole stretch that's just dead, like, there's nothing there, it's just trees, and it goes along the bike path, which is on the opposite side from where our boathouse is. That it would be really cool if there was, like, a park there because, I mean, it's a bike path, but I remember it's on the side where I used to row in high school where Niskana still rows and Aqueduct is, and we used to have to run on that, and it always got a little bit, sketchy because you're running from, like, Niskayuna, which is, you're kind of in this weird section after the bridge where there's not a lot of houses there, so it's not a lot of people walking around there, but it's not in a bad area. But then as you run, you're headed towards the city of Schenectady, and I'm always thinking, like, back, like, I don't know how safe it was to just send kids out, like, head out to, like, the inner city and then turn around when you can't see anything, and now, like, what we know, like, safety on the bike paths is, like, a big thing, especially no matter where you are, it could be in the safest town.
Even when we were at UB and we were at well, I remember being at West Side and I remember running around that park and just thinking, this is the weirdest park ever. You know how like if you go up the hill, you make the right and then you can go like around there's like a park up there.
Yep.
And like I always remember thinking to myself, like, this park is just weird. It had buildings in it, but the buildings seemed kind of run down. And I don't know if there was like an old pool that wasn't full of like, like it looked like it was a community center, but like wasn't being used as one. And then when we were at UB, we were at the Veterans Park. And there were trails that we could run. I remember running those trails. I mean, at the time, I wasn't a big runner. It wasn't my favorite thing to do, like, because I did cross country my senior year of high school. So that's about when I started to get into running. So when I got to UB, I could run like I wasn't dying or anything like that, but like it wasn't I wasn't doing half marathons at that point, and like I wasn't the fastest runner on the team by a long shot, and B, I didn't enjoy it. And I remember like being in the back with maybe like two or three other people, while like I forget who else were really good runners. Maybe like Cadanzoni, I think was.
Well, Katie Rizzoni was, yep.
He was a good runner. Sarah was, Nicole was, like they were all like
Tara was. She was a track runner. Yep.
runners. Like they would go out and like it would have been okay if they did 6 to 10 miles, and they just would have been giggling and laughing and running backwards and skipping, like, and just like having a great time, where I was in the drudgery, like in the back, like where like I could get the run done, but it wasn't my favorite thing to do at all. But I remember we just would get sent out there and make it happen. Like when I was running cross country, that was wild, because my school was down. I went to like a Catholic high school in Rochester. Shout out to Aquinas, everybody. So I went to Aquinas. Aquinas is downtown, kind of close to where like Kodak Park was. So like where Kodak would like make the film and stuff like that. So like big industrial park, middle of the city. And the river runs, like the Genesee River kind of runs kind of south of the city, and then it makes a turn and it goes through the city, and then there's 3 sets of falls. So there's like Upper Falls, Middle Falls, and Lower Falls. Upper Falls is like downtown, Middle Falls is like it actually it's like an RG and E power plant for, at the time, I think it was for Kodak. Like they would send power to Kodak. And then there's like Lower Falls, which is actually like like that's where you can go like back in the day and like grab salmon out of the river. Like it was a bad thing, but people used it because like they would come up there to spawn, and then like people would just like grab them and take them. Like it was weird side quests. But we were downtown, and we would literally like run, like they would go, okay, you're going to run to the zoo. So the zoo, like it was like for a high schooler who wasn't running a lot, like the zoo would be like impossibly far away. I think it might have been like maybe 3 or 4 miles from school, but you had to like, because we're in a city that's like basically 2 sides of a gorge and a river down at the bottom. Like it was so hilly. Like even the bridges that would go across the river would like angle down, and you would have to run. Basically, you'd run down to the zoo.
Oh gosh.
And then you'd have to run back up. So it was like 4 miles down and 4 miles up through the city. Like, so like, like people on the side of the road, and just like, car shopping carts, just kind of like, how like sometimes in the state people just like take shopping carts and they just leave them. Like that was like commonplace. Like I remember one of the kids I ran with, like he came back with a tire, and literally like, how like in the movies where people take a tire and a stick and roll, like he ran and rolled a tire back to school. We were going everywhere. And anywhere. And the thing is like cross country is one of those things, like there's kids who are super fast and then who like run like me. They're like super slow, like, 10, 11, 12-minute miles. And so when you tell someone to run 6 miles who's running 10, 12 minutes, like it's dark. Like I remember so many times, like my parents were like, where were you? I was running like, I was running what our coach would tell us to do. And so like we would have like these little pods of people that we would stick with. So you were always with people, and give a credit, shout out to the coaches at that time. We did wear pennies. We wore these really disgusting yellow pennies that were kept in a tub and never washed, but we wore them like religiously. I mean, but we were running all over the city of Rochester. Like, I don't know. I don't think the administration knew what the cross country coaches were letting the kids do. I was just kind of like, I mean, we were running anywhere and everywhere, but the same thing kind of happens with crew. You know what I mean? Like, I was really conscious of that as a coach. Like I had, right around Genesee waterways, there's like a 1-mile loop. So like when you stand on the one side of the river, the people go up onto the footbridge, they come across, and then they come over to the other bridge and come back. And that's 1 mile. So a lot of times what I would do is I would say, okay, we're going to run for about 20 minutes, girls. So the faster girls could do as much as they wanted, as many loops as much as they could. And I would see them every couple times come by. And then the girls were a little bit slower. I'm like, look, running's something that you should get into. You should know how to do. I know it's not easy. It feels like crap if you're not a runner. Like, I have complete sympathy for people who who aren't runners. I've done a lot of running over my exercising career, and I remember when I think it was after I had Luke, I hadn't ran in, like, I don't know, maybe a year, because Timmy and Luke are 23 months apart. I ran with Timmy up until I was maybe halfway through my practice, maybe 20, 25 weeks I was still running, and then I stopped running with him, got pregnant again, had Luke, and so I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to have another baby the second. I'm like, let me get back into running. So I got back into running, and I can distinctly remember that first day, it being terrible. It's been really, really hard, and I try to remember that feeling, because when people are like, "Oh, I don't like to run." I'm like, "Yeah, I get it. I don't lie. You don't like to run." The only reason that I got back into running is because I knew what it could feel like. Once once you're acclimated to it, fun. I love I love being able to cover the ground. I'm the type of person who wakes up on vacation, and before everybody gets up, I'll put my running shoes on, put my running clothes on, and I'll go out and I'll run 3 or 4 miles out. I'll go into the village, see what's going on. I'll run back. And then when everybody's awake and eating breakfast, I'll be like, okay, there's this shop we can go to. There's that. It's just so much easier to kind of see the lay of the land. But ooh, if you don't get over that hump of it being painful and horrible, it's just torture. It's and so I feel bad for kids, especially kids who are rowers, because some of them aren't runners. And sometimes it's an easy go-to for a coach, on a day where the weather's not 100%. Say it's windy, but it's still nice out, you could send them out for them. Or you have to keep them there and do a circuit, or you're going to pull the ergs out of the erg room and put them out by the water, and then you're doing the urging.
My kids, well, I think Hannah experiences this a little bit more, but it's also the feeling of when if it upsets your stomach,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's a hard one to get over if that happens to you, and then just, having to deal with anything like that. So, yeah, I know I hear it from my kids. They definitely don't like the running either, but like you said, the more you do it, it does get better, and it's just a good thing. No matter what, runner or rowers always have to kind of run, even if it's just the warm-up run.
Yeah. And I was reading an article from Aurora. It was really interesting. Someone who had come back from the Olympics, and I think they medaled in the Olympics, and they got home. And I guess they went out for a run or something like that, within a week of finishing all that training, and was just amazed at how terrible they were at running. They're like, I'm a freaking Olympian, and I went out for this run, and they probably still ran 4 or 5 miles or something like that, but they just were internalizing the idea that sports specificity is so important. The fact that, you can be someone who goes out for a run that feels terrible, but the week before you're winning the Olympics. So it's so that, and that's also kind of a thing where you can be yeah, I get it, kids. Oh my gosh, did I not hit record?
No, Adrien. Oh my God.
Oh no, I found it.
Oh man.
Oh,
Oh no.
how did I do this again? How is this happening? It's so crazy because oh my gosh. Darn it. We'll have the transcripts. Oh my gosh, this is so upsetting.
That's okay.
Should I start recording now?
Yeah, sure. I mean, how much time do you have?
Oh my God, I probably have another 15 minutes. I don't know. What happened is oh, this is so frustrating. And I just looked down. I was like, where's the little recording button? Oh, you got to be kidding me. It happened the other day when I was trying to record a podcast with someone. And then I was doing a Zoom with my family, and it automatically turned the recording on. And I was like, how is that? I'm like, I have to go double check the settings in the.
Yeah, because I don't see anything right now that. Oh, on the top it says recording. Okay. Yeah, when I first joined, I think it said something about
Yeah.
maybe the transcript.
Yeah. And
All right, so I thought it might have been already recording, sorry.
because I thought I hit record before I went downstairs, that's why I didn't think about it. Oh my goodness. Well,
Yes. Oh, well.
you know what? The other thing is that I could have my VA try to use AI to read our transcript. So that might be an
Wow. Okay.
interesting podcast. I'll talk to her about it and see what she can do.
But oh my gosh, we just did like we did
No, it
first
was very
talking.
random. It
Yeah,
was very random.
yeah, that was like the most random. Should we talk about what should we talk about now?
Oh boy. Okay. You know what I thought was really interesting though, we can get back to is we
Yeah.
did talk about sustainability in rowing. We talked about like how to reuse some things in the boathouse. The other thing I was thinking of is I was listening to At the Thousand podcast and I was thinking like maybe he was asking for feedback on like who he should interview next. So what I might do, I wanted to ask him to interview somebody, and I can't remember.
You can ask him to interview us.
Well, that was my side idea, yes. But I was thinking, like,
I
as
think I've talked to him before.
have you?
Yeah,
It's
at the thousand guy. So I forget
yeah.
what's his name.
I can't even remember. I don't listen to him a lot, but like I was listening to his top. He was doing like a recap. We had talked
Evan.
about doing a recap.
Is it
Okay,
Kevin?
Evan. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I'm
I can
trying to
send him.
remember.
Yeah, I can send him an email and see if he wants to. It would be great crossover for both for this podcast and for his because I'm sure he has probably a lot more listeners than we do. But
Yeah.
what's always interesting. Oh, we could talk about the Spotify wrap up. So
Yes, we could do that. Yeah.
Spotify, yeah, Spotify does a wrap up, kind of like they do the wrap up of your just
hmm
basically of your listening, and then they do a wrap up of podcasts.
hmm
And thank you everybody who's been listening to the podcast. We are in I think it was the top 20% of videos that are podcasts. So like
hmm
the top
It's
20%, that's
crazy.
cool. I know.
Yeah.
Like you don't think like you think, oh, it's just my little podcast, but there's so many podcasts out there that, if we've got 20 or 30 people who are kind of tuning in here and there, that's boosting our numbers. And we have a full year's worth of numbers too. So
Yeah.
I think I had a lot to work with for us. I think there was like did it send over the top countries? There was a top countries one.
hmm
I forget exactly which countries were our top countries. I think USA was number one.
I don't think that was one of the slides though.
Is that one of the slides?
Well,
Maybe that
I
was
don't think you
maybe that
sent
was
it
one
to
of
me.
my slides. Let me double
Okay.
double check here. I have so much stuff in my downloads. I need to clean these up.
I just realized I'm looking at our account, our Instagram account, and I have followed the Peace Bridge Authority. I just thought that was funny.
Oh, our most popular episode was Dan's episode. So thank
I
you
know.
for listening to Dan's episode. It was our most popular. Let's see. What else? What other fun facts? We are the number one show for 13 fans. So we are the show that
Yay.
13 people listen to the most. So that was pretty cool.
Thank you guys.
Thank you guys. And like there was also like a fact about like binging, like
hmm
watching. I think it was something like three of your fans watch more or listen to or watch more than one episode at a time. Like it was
hmm
like, yeah, it was super neat. So thank you everybody for everything that, for listening to us and being engaged with what we're doing. And if you want to be on the podcast, let us know. We've got plenty of time for guests. So if
hmm
you want to come in, even if you want to, if you don't think you have much of a rowing story, you've got plenty of a rowing story to chat with
hmm
us. I mean, we just want to get the normal run of the
Yes.
mill, not normal, but everybody's story is unique. I really think
Yeah.
that everybody's rowing story is special, and like you
hmm
don't have to be an Olympian
hmm
to no shade on Olympians. Like holy
Yeah.
smokes, like oh
Yeah.
my goodness, like yay. But rowing, even if you're not an Olympian, that you have something that you've added to the sport. I always say if you're a sweep rower, like we are like part of like a chain of people. Like you can't learn how to sweep row by yourself. So there was
hmm
somebody in the boat who knew how, who sat there so you could learn how. And then there's probably times that you sat there and you knew how to row, and then somebody rows because you rowed with them. So
hmm
like we're all kind of like this interconnected weaving group of people. So I think that that's really special about rowing. And I think getting everybody's stories out there, kind of learning everybody's origin story. And we talked to Tim about his origin story. And a lot
hmm
of times it's like your kids are doing it and they kind of bring you into it. And I just think it's special. I think it's a good way to kind of document all of these things. Rowing changes, but in a way it does stay the same. Like there's
hmm
still going to be somebody who invites you to a meeting, or a kid who goes to, learn rowing and a parent who gets really interested in it, it becomes, a way to keep healthy.
Yeah.
So I love that. So what else did say? I think I kind of got off on a tangent talking
Yeah.
about it, but I don't know if what else it was saying in the wrapped up, but I think that was just really neat and really fun that people are taking the time to listen. And it's
Yeah. I mean, it's been a year, right?
been a year.
So like some of the things that, I mean, definitely more guests, we'll have people on. And I know the one thing that I was thinking if I could ask Evan from At the Thousand is if he would, and we can definitely explore this too, but this is a little bit like as somebody on a board of a youth program
Mhm.
that I see as a big need for the sport in general is just that pipeline of coaches. Like
Yeah.
anyone who has ideas or has really come up with a good way to do it because I feel like there's such a huge need right now is at all levels. I see it. When I talk to college coaches, they because I mentioned it when we had visited a couple of colleges, we were looking at schools for Hannah, oh, and by the way, if you have any graduating students that are looking for coaching jobs, they're like, no way, we're keeping them for ourselves. Like it is so hard. People come and go, and it's such a hard job to have as a career unless you're like, how do you have a career as an assistant coach and sustain yourself, and then to
Mhm.
lead up to eventually have a career as a head coach, which is like the most you can make, but that even sometimes, especially at different types of schools, is not going to be a lot. And I know that somebody out in Rochester who does kind of like two different levels of coaching and like how does that work at regattas? And I just think it would be kind of an interesting thing and maybe it could help people at different programs brainstorm new ways of recruiting, help people get the word out, and also like I feel like the challenge is like it's always been for me when I wanted to be a coach is most full-time jobs do not lend themselves to
Oh yeah.
having the time to be a coach because really coaching, especially for youth, is like a very specific time frame and it eats into the typical 9 to 5. But we talked to Dave about his unique situation. It's not like you're going to find a lot of
Oh,
jobs where you're going to be able to do what Dave does with working for a country in Europe. So that means you get up like start work at 5 in the morning and
oh,
but I don't know. I just think that that would be a cool thing to ask him. And then maybe like we could also explore some ideas too or talk to some people. I don't think I know anyone who does it extremely well off the top of my head. I think most people are just getting by and surviving and doing what they can with who they have. But
yeah,
yeah.
I think we need to do a better job of like, every youth athlete that I talk to, I try to talk to them about continuing being involved with rowing.
Hmm.
Like right now I have a girl who's a senior. She's not going to row in college. And I talk to her constantly about, I'm like, hey, there's really a lot of ways you can stay in the sport. I'm like, she knows how to cox. I was like, if you wanted like low-hanging fruit, like just be a coxswain for a master's team. You'd be amazed at how fulfilling it is, and you get paid a little bit. So
Hmm.
it's,
Yeah.
a little job to 2 hours once a week during the summer when the weather's nice. I mean, masters are fair weather kind of people. Like
Hmm.
that's one way you can stay involved. Another way is like volunteer at the regatta. The regattas happen maybe 2 times a year in your local area. Volunteer at the regatta. Tell them you have rowing experience. You could be the dock master. You
Hmm.
could sit in a launch and record bow numbers. There's a lot of things you can do because you know the sport. And it's much easier to send someone out to the start line who's raced the race before and knows that it's going to be a shoot. They know that the boats are going to need to be lined. Like they already have all this knowledge. You're not trying to teach a parent who's never rowed before, never sat in a launch, doesn't have a clue what's going to happen up at the start, and it's going to take them the first 3 or 4 races to understand what's going on. So if you're someone who has that experience already, get in the habit of volunteering one weekend a year to pay it forward or to pay it back. Somebody sat in that launch so you could row that race. Like you need to do that. If you're into the whole racing thing, you want to become a ref, like there's a whole refing program. If you want
Hmm.
to become a coach, there's level one is a virtual, I think it's on the launch, it's called, is the learning platform for US rowing. I think level one is still free and I think it's still virtual. So you can take that course, learn everything that you need to learn. You got to get your boating license for one thing. Don't be driving a launch and not have your boating license. Like know the rules of the road, know what that buoy stands for and what side you're supposed to of the river you're supposed to
Mm-hmm.
be on based on what color that buoy is. You know, you should know what a hazard buoy is. You should know who has right of way as you come
Mm-hmm.
off, like in because our situation is if you come off of the canal and the river, a lot of times we think the through traffic on the river is going to have the right of way, but if they're coming from, if people know Rochester, if you're coming from Pittsford off of the canal onto the river, you have right of way because of the way that you're off of the, I forget whether it's starboard or port. It's we're too the person who's to that person's port has to yield. So like they have right of way. So you can't do a racing piece of crossing the canal if there's another boat that's coming. Like so you need to know those rules as a coach. I mean that's the hard thing is you can't just throw somebody in a launch and say go out there and coach a rowing practice.
Yeah.
It's not like soccer where you can kind of learn as you go and there's a lot of like ins and outs and doing it well and I think that can be intimidating, but it's also a moment for like, as rowers, we can take that time and say, hey, we're going to put the effort into teaching people how to do this.
Yeah.
Like, I know when I first started coaching, it's you kind of feel like A, it's a little bit lonely, and B, like you don't want to sound stupid. You don't want to ask too many, like you should be asking lots of questions. You should feel that like the other coaches that are there to kind of help and mentor you. And like you shouldn't feel like you have to sink or swim. And I think that sometimes coaches get into that sink or swim position because there aren't any other older coaches to mentor them. So they're doing a lot of things that are just kind of wild and crazy and making sense in the moment, but not making sense if like, if they had an older coach there to be like, oh yeah, don't do it that way. It's gonna make it frustrating for you. Do it this way. So I
Mm-hmm.
think the mentorship end of it, like we really need to make sure that we're doing that. And then we're also encouraging all of these kids to stay involved in rowing in some way, shape, or form.
Mm-hmm.
Just a little, I mean, even if they're coaching one day a week, like I know you
Yeah.
can get dragged. If one day a week turns into a head coach position very quickly, just as
Yep.
this is an FYI for people. If someone's asking you to coach for one day a week, next thing you know, you will be head coach. So if you're really not
Yes.
100% into being head coach, like, set boundaries and tell them you're not going to be head coach when they ask you. And it's okay. You can tell them no. You don't have to be head coach. But coaching it's completely rewarding. It's so much fun. Some of my favorite moments have been sitting in the launch and, watching a crew row. And my favorite is summertime where it's warm and beautiful. Wear your sunglasses, wear your visors, and wear your sunscreen because the reflection from the water will kill your skin over time as a coach. Definitely a hazard. So make sure that you're keeping yourself safe. But we need to get as many people out there coaching as possible because the sport can't continue without
Yeah.
having enough coaches out there. And you know what? Have teams have to get creative and the dad with
Yeah.
the boating license who knows how to drive a launch just to be just to be the safety, but not providing any coaching. So it's teams are doing what they have to do in order to keep the teams going, but it'd be nice to have a good influx of new people who can split the load too. Because
Mm-hmm.
these coaches get so burnt out. I mean,
Yeah.
I know that when I was coaching, like after 2 years, I think it was 2 years as head coach, 1 year as an assistant coach. After 3 years, I was burnt. Like I
Yeah.
didn't, I was like, there's a famous story my brother always tells that I called him, I told him I'm never coaching again.
Mm.
Never coaching again. I was so toasted.
Mm-hmm.
So, to prevent that from happening to people, like we need more coaches. We need more people
Yeah.
to share the load.
More coaches and more support for coaches, more pipelines, intentional pipeline, like intentional actions from, I'm just looking at the US rowing. So the cost for level one is free, but starting January 1st, level one will be free for championship members and $50 for basic members.
Oh,
Um, so, I mean, at least I didn't even know it was free, to be honest. Pretty sure I probably had to pay for my level one. I mean, it probably wasn't much, and then I know it goes up after that. But yeah, I mean, I'm not even sure if all of our coaches do level one. So I should probably find all of that out.
and it used to be that you were grandfathered into level one if you were an experienced rower, and then
Hmm,
level two was
maybe.
where where the next portion where you start. And I remember I took
Hmm.
level 2 as a weekend course. And
Mm-hmm.
I started coaching with Fairport. I think we went to Syracuse, and
Mm-hmm.
I forget the name of the guy who taught it. Oh, that's gonna bother me because it like I can see his face. Yeah, that's gonna bother me. But yeah, it was like a weekend thing,
Mm-hmm.
and level 2 is great. I think they do level 2 different now.
I was
Level
gonna
2 is
say,
a little bit more involved.
I feel like
Um,
level two was mostly like the boating certification. Like it was a lot about rules of the river and stuff like that. So I'm wondering if it's different now
I think
because
it's a little bit different now,
yeah.
and then of course level 3. That one is I think it's 3 or 4 months.
Mm-hmm.
Do level 3, and that's very involved. If you want to, I mean, if you love rowing and you really like want to take it to the limit, level 3 is so much fun. It's like it's the best. You get to interact with other coaches all over the country. It's just a really dynamic program. I don't know, I want to highlight it. I'm like, I teach the biomechanics in it, so I love it. I don't they haven't there's a new cohort. They haven't asked me to do this one, but I did the previous cohort, the last cohort that they ran. So, but I loved it. When I took it, I loved it, and when I teach it, when I with the coaches for biomechanics, it's a really great opportunity to like really think and like dive into like your rowing mind. And each module is a different aspect of like basically head coaching. And
Mm-hmm.
they do biomechanics, they do physiology, they do rigging, they do club dynamics and club building, coaching as a skill as far as like the psychology of it.
Mm-hmm.
One of the sections. I know I'm leaving out it's like a bunch of modules. And it's very intense. It's week to week. So every week, I think it's like every 2 weeks. It's like every other week you have a Zoom class and you have an assignment. And the assignments sometimes require you to, like, in the rigging section, you have to rig a boat and you have to show, like, you have to send the boat out pre-rig. And then this is what, back when I did it. So I
Yeah,
have
I'm looking
a
at it now.
biomechanics section. In my
Yep.
biomechanics section, I have them send in video, and
Mm-hmm.
I edit the video and then we review it together. And so we look for like movement, how what do the force curves look like? What do they look like on the water, and compare if I can get people to get water video and land video on the erg, and comparing their land video with how they squat and how they like, we put all those pieces together to look at like the biomechanic picture for that person as a whole, which is really fun, and really in depth. I always tell them like this is kind of the over the top version of like if you had to concentrate on one individual rower, this is how you could take them through that full gamut of what's going on in a biomechanics sense. But that's how level 3 is. It's really kind of like really super diving in. The guy who teaches the rigging is amazing. Oh, Eric. I can't think of his last name. But like every time because sometimes we've done live versions and I've actually been able to kind of watch other people's presentations, and I watched his presentation, and I think he did the rigging section when I took it, maybe.
Hmm.
But just like you can fall down the rabbit hole really in any of the subjects
Mm-hmm.
involving rowing, but it's like you go rabbit hole for one particular topic for 2 weeks, and then the next 2 weeks you do rabbit hole for another topic, and then like
Yeah.
yeah, it's very, very intense, but it's so much fun. And the best part is all the coaches that you meet. Like I met so many
Yeah.
coaches that I still talk to, touch with, that if I need something, we have like we still have a group chat from like 2021 or whatever, that on GroupMe, and we just be like, hey, does so and so have a such and such? I'm looking for this. Does anybody have, like, so you build your coaching network, which is I think the most valuable part of level 3, not just like the knowledge, but
Mm-hmm.
building your coaching network will change your coaching life. It really,
Mm-hmm.
because it'll give you people to ask the questions and share ideas with. And I think that's really, really important for a coach who wants to develop. But I think the other thing like about coaching is like we talked about, like not being like not a money maker, and like supporting yourself
Yeah.
while you're coaching, and that being a
Yep.
challenge. And I think that's a structure of our sport that we really need to take a look at, because rowing coaches are highly skilled
Yeah.
individuals. Like even the worst rowing coaches are pretty, like just thinking about the fact that they start up a motor, and they're like talking and driving the motor and keeping people safe, like all like they're basically like being like a Coast Guard person, just like
Yeah.
in just watching the kids. That's without providing any instruction about rowing. I
Yeah.
mean, And the fact that like they get safe equipment on the water, they get kids in and out, like the fact that like they can run a practice, like that's high value activity. Like there's a lot
Hmm.
of jobs that pay way more and require way less. So
Yeah.
I think that's something as a community we have to really think about. Like
Yeah.
it's not easy what a rowing coach is doing, and
Mm-mm.
like they should
It's
be.
not easy, and it's really, it takes a toll on your, your social and your personal life too. I mean, it's really hard to balance having any kind of family,
Yeah.
personal life when all of your time is spent, when everyone else has free time.
Yep. Yep.
I mean, all your weekends, your evenings, and then like, okay, so that means that like, maybe you can fit in a job when everyone else is working and going to school, but then what other time do you have? I mean, it's such a, yeah,
Mhm. I should probably get going and get wrapped up.
yeah.
I've
I'm
got
sorry
stuff.
we didn't get the first part
Oh, I
recorded.
can't believe I didn't. Like, this is something. Somebody needs to write me a note on comments. How do I turn automatically record? There's got to be like a switch that I'm missing inside of Zoom. I am going to like Google that question and make sure that we never miss a recording again. But we will have the transcript from what we said previous to what we had started in this recording.
Hmm.
So I will see if my VA can make some type of animated, like Adrian and Kate, like and it's reading our transcript for
Oh my
something.
gosh,
AI can
so
do this.
funny.
I think that this is an AI challenge that we're ready to take. So let me see if she can figure this out. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I did this again.
I'll
But
try and remember to make a reminder too.
yes, yes. So everybody have a happy new year.
Hmm.
People will probably hear this in the new year, but we're a day, 2 days before still.
Hmm.
So happy new year, Kate.
Yeah,
Happy
Happy
new
New
year,
Year.
everybody who's listening, and here's to 2026. We are
Woohoo.
ready for it. This is going to be an awesome year.
All right. Have a good day.
You too. Take care.